At Federal, we have products for every season and every pursuit. Our passionate and dedicated teams design, build, and deliver the world's best American-made ammunition, whether you're hunting, target shooting, or defending yourself and family. Our pride and hard work can be found in every box, ammo can, or bottle of ammunition. For us, it's always in season. It's Federal season.
Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to the Federal Ammunition Podcast. It's Federal season. I'm Chad Belding, your guest host. I also host the Fowl Life Television. We're currently airing season 14 on the Outdoor Channel. Outdoor Channel it's the home of outdoor television, hunting, fishing, every part of our community that you can expect support from. The Outdoor Channel is giving it. We're proud to be on the Outdoor Channel. Season 14 of the Fowl Life right now, and I'm even more proud to be here today on It's Federal season. And I'm talking to a man who is a friend, a mentor. He is my age, but has become a mentor on just how to execute and how to make things happen when it comes to the experience of duck hunting in the duck blind, at the lodge, preseason preparation, dog work, duck calling, when to call the shot. We actually talk about when to call the shot quite a bit, and I argue with my guest today. But Drew Keeth, he's the president and CEO of a little place in Louisiana called Honey Break, and it has become one of the top 3 to 5, I'm going to say top 2 destinations in the continental United States to chase waterfowl during the migration, during the fall migration. Honey Break, Louisiana. I've had the pleasure of hunting there, the honor of hunting there a few times with my guest today. Drew Keeth, how are you, my man?
Doing good, brother. Doing good. How about you?
Oh, man, I'm fired up, buddy. You know what gets me fired up is that, I'm not a huge social media guy about following people, but I do follow you secretly through an account that's called Jargon Game Calls. And I often wonder, like, how you do it, because you are a face guy. You love talking to people. You're great in front of people. You're great in the blind, calling ducks, calling the shot, making people feel at home, experiencing that, for lack of better terms, the hunt of a lifetime, which we hear so much. But Honey Break really does provide this to people. But what I see following you, Drew, is you're in bulldozers, you're in excavators, you're moving land, you're moving dirt, you're putting pipe in the ground, you're working with Ducks Unlimited, Delta Waterfowl, other conservation organizations to ensure that these ducks are going to have a great habitat when they get to that part of Louisiana down the Central Flyway there. Give me an idea of how many hours are you spending a day in what we would call preseason preparation, and what does that preparation entail?
Well, normally, we've got a big place. 20,000 acres is a lot to say grace over. But this year we enrolled another 3,000 acres in the WRE, Wetland Reserve Easement, and it's going to be about 1,800 acres of additional shallow water areas. So be careful what you wish for. We enrolled it, then we bid on the contract and actually got the contract. So it was 100,000 yards of dirt pan work, 10,000 yards of excavation, 18 water control structures. The smallest or the biggest one being about 120 feet long. So we've had that on top of everything else that we do. So we brought in about another 8 employees this summer just to do the construction work, and trying to wrap everything up before hurricane season starts. We were looking really, really good until about 2 weeks ago, and we've been very blessed to miss all the rain so far. But now it's caught up with us. So.
You find pleasure in knowing what you're doing for the populations of not just ducks, not just geese, but shorebirds, and you have deer down there. You have a ton of different wildlife that live at Honey Break. When you're working this many hours every day, and it's 100% humidity, it can be 100 degrees outside. Are you a visionary, Drew Keith? Do you visualize what's getting ready to go down once you see the water on these pieces of property and the ducks start to come down the flyway? Do you visualize this on a daily basis when you're sitting in that excavator? 100%.
100%. Going like even to my personal property now, you've been around me enough to know I'm a little, I run in the red quite a bit. And so my little mind is always turning. And so instead of going and just enjoying a day in a deer stand or a duck blind or riding a forward or something like that, I'm looking to the ways I see something and I can make it better. I can see something I can do it better, and or way to improve it, whether it's access or whether it's deepening a pond or filling in a deeper spot for it to make it where it's 8 to 18 inches for dabbling ducks. It's just always making natural funnels for the deer and the game to come through, like a pinch point. So it's always, my mind's always working on leaving it better than I found, and I take a lot of pride in it.
I think that's awesome. That's the mentality of an American farmer, a worldwide farmer, the sustainability, leaving the land better when you put it back up on that shelf than when you took it off of that shelf. Because in reality, it's not our land, right? When you're gone, there's going to be somebody else. Somebody else is going to be chosen to take care of that land, and manicuring it and knowing that all of these different populations of wildlife, including ducks and geese, which we're focusing on today, are maximizing the potential of that land. I love it. I love Honey Break, but the story of Honey Break and the culture of Honey Break is so key to me. And I always brag about this part about you, Drew, is that every morning your UTVs pull up to pick up your hunters, and I've never seen a speck of mud on a UTV at 5 o'clock in the morning. But I know how much mud is on that UTV at 11:30 when we're coming out of those duck blinds, and that showcases your attention to detail and your execution and organization, and how much your crew believes in what your vision is, because they're taking so much pride in no corners being cut. And I love that part of Honey Break. And I think that today I want to get into things like, what does it take to get that message to your team that we can't cut corners? These people are flying into Honey Break, and they're spending their hard-earned money to rely on us to provide them with an opportunity. Even if you don't get them every day, there's still going to be memories made and stories written. So we have that to talk about. I want to talk about, what does it take? What etiquette have you seen in the duck blind? What etiquette have you worked on with people in the duck blind? Because I've heard stories about, hey, people get a little bit trigger happy, or they might be talking a little bit too loud. Or I want to talk about, what does it take to have etiquette, on an everyday duck hunt with your buddies? And what is the correct etiquette to have when you visit a place like Honey Break? And I want to get into time, just maximizing our time in the duck blind, Drew. And you and I have, I think, mastered this, because when they're not flying, we're having a big time. When they're flying, our eyes are to the sky, or when they're dead on the water, we're watching your unbelievable sporting dogs swim through thousands of decoys to pick up ducks. So I want to get into that, but we go back to what you're experiencing right now with your everyday workload. But pretty soon, when this episode airs, it's going to be close to teal season. This is a huge part of duck hunting in the South. This is like the dove opener, and then you got the teal opener down there, right? I know how you feel about dove hunt. I know you love it, but what are you looking forward to the most? Are you excited? Do you have a lot of adrenaline going right now for this upcoming season? And are you excited to see those blue-winged teal show up at Honey Break?
They actually are. I'm super excited. I'm probably more excited this year than I have been. This new project, I do this stuff all the time, but I'm really, really excited. It's some areas that we're that are going to be, take the pressure off of our historically, hot spots. And it's all going to be basically terraced, so you can manage the water. So one of the biggest areas was like a 4 foot deep on one end, and by the time they got to where the blind needed to be, it was like ankle deep. Well, now it's going to be 8 to 18 inches across that whole 500 acres. So the cool thing about it is just seeing it all come to fruition. So last week we got 3 inches of rain, and there's a place that we had just planted and seeded and hayed and fertilized the levees. And we had some barnyard grass come up there because it was one of the first levees that we built. So we had disturbed the ground out there in front of it, and it's the barnyard grass and the other moist soil species are coming up. So I might have threw a little fertilizer on that too, and then came back after that rain, and I'll send you a text when we get done with this. It's fine. I mean, the teal were already in it. So that was August the 8th. That's probably about the earliest we've seen them, but they're already showing up. On the day after the rain, we saw like 5 teal, and then the next day went back and saw 5 or 6 different bunches.
When you think about the tealers showing up, and you start to get that adrenaline rush, that anticipation, some of the things I've heard from the, again, quote unquote, Southern duck hunter, where duck hunting is so big down there in the Mississippi Flyway, whether it's Arkansas down to Louisiana, you got the Mississippi Delta, there's a lot of areas in southeast Missouri that are very plentiful and rich in culture of the American duck hunter, goose hunter. But a lot of the talk coming out of your area in the past, let's say 5 years, that duck hunting has changed. The flies with
ducks don't come down and fly in the flyway
shifted to the west. So do you believe in this,
right,
or what are you hearing? Because the reports that I've seen this year, right now going into the 2022-23 waterfowl season, Drew, Keith, is that habitat was good, the hatch was good, both from the duck factory of the United States plus up in Canada on the tundra. It looks good. Is this get you fired up, or do you look at it like, I'll believe it when I see it?
Nope. Well, like I kind of to touch back on the last comment that you or the question that you asked me, that my guys, you can't control the wind, you can't control the ducks, you can't control the weather, but so we try to take care of everything else that we can. So when people come down here, if by chance it is a slow day, then they've seen that we put every ounce of effort into making it or making the best of what we can control. Everything else is out of our control. So you hear the flyway shifting, you hear that the ducks don't come down anymore. Well, there's more ducks now than there's ever been, but it's also more duck hunters now than there's ever been. And so we're our own worst enemy, but that's good, So no matter what, if people keep saying I'm going north or I'm going west and whatever, but we're still put our boots on every morning to go out and see how we can improve it and make it better. So we're blessed with a big enough piece of property. We have basically everything that a duck would want. So you got deep water, shallow water, ag fields, the moist soil management, older timber, young flooded timber. So it's a little bit of everything. We're just going to do everything we can that we can control.
I like that, being able to control what is in your controllables, on your list of controllables, and that goes back to not cutting corners. And I could personally paint a vivid picture to our listening audience here at It's Federal Season podcast of what takes place at Honey Break, from the wake up to the customized omelets in the mudroom, to getting your waders on in your ammo bag, and there's two coolers. One's got breakfast burritos, and one's got Diet Dr. Peppers or coffee and thermoses, and then you jump in a UTV, and you're on it for 20 minutes, and then you get dropped off at a boat dock, and you get in a boat for a 5 to 10, 15-minute boat ride into a blind that literally is the Taj Mahal of duck blinds. When you hear this, Drew, and you hear people like myself or people from Federal Premium that have been to Honey Break and the experiences that they've had, you can't always get them. You're not always going to be able to get the ducks to cooperate and Mother Nature cooperate. I've had days at Honey Break where we don't shoot them up, and I've had days where you can't keep them out of the decoys. What do you tell somebody, Drew? They call you. They come up to you at the NWTF show in Nashville every February. Hey, Mr. Drew, saw you on TV. I love the Honey Break experience. I want to come hunt there. It's my goal to hunt at Honey Break. What are some of the questions that I or another potential customer, client of Honey Break or another duck lodge in America need to be asking you and your crew there to make sure that when we do send that deposit checks, all the boxes are checked and we're ready for the trip to Honey Break?
Well, I think the most thing that we get asked is, when's the best time to come? Being how we are, we book up so far in advance, so it's pretty much you better, whatever day's available, you better come on that day. Used to, historically, it was the second week of December to the second week of January. But now, just the way that we're, the way we've been, I guess, our intense management, even the birds that don't come down because of a push or a front, they're genetically programmed to come down here anyway. So we're still going to get those. Now, if you don't get another front for 2 or 3 weeks after that, we're going to be struggling. But usually by that time, the little cycle gets started and they're going to come down. So that's probably the biggest thing we get asked. The one thing that being a dog owner and a dog lover, and I've owned several good dogs in my life and ran over several of them. Can I bring my dog? And it's I was always a big advocate for that, to be able to bring your dog but you've been here. Most of our dog boxes or runs are brushed in, and they're seeing, a big spread of decoys, and they might be having to mark on sound. That's just something that most dogs aren't trained on. So it'll make a dog with 4 or 5 grand passes, not look very good at all, and it embarrasses the landowner because not the dog owner, not the landowner. It embarrasses the dog owner because that's his pride and joy. I mean, he's super proud about it. And it's been my experience. The more I brag about my dog, the more he'll let me down. Just when you think you got him just right, they'll prove you wrong. And the biggest reason with that, as far as number one, they're not going to have a good time, and that's what we're here, is having a good experience. Number two, we have to have health clearances and all that kind of stuff, because we have probably 18 to 20 dogs in our kennels during hunting season, and if a dog comes in and gives our dogs kennel cough, which they all have the shots and the stuff to prevent it, still, it's just it's just like one of the guides being down for a day or a week or two.
When I've been to some outfitters, I'll mess with the guys and I'll be like, oh, you should have been here last week, outfitter. Like, oh, the guys last week really got him, and then we get there, and then, oh, man, the anticipation starts to die out.
Should have been here yesterday.
Yeah, we smoked them. Wish y'all would have here yesterday. What are some red flags that a client, when he's talking to a potential outfitter, because this is a big deal, Drew. I mean, you're taking your money that you earned and you're traveling. You might have to be in a plane. You might have to you save up for fuel costs these days. It's not cheap to hunt at Honey Break. It's not cheap to hunt at a lot of outfitters. The experience is there, don't get me wrong, but what are some red flags our listening audience could be aware of if they're asking questions to a potential outfitter or guide service, that you can look for? Man, maybe I really need to do my homework and get a second opinion on this place?
Well, I would say, everybody's in social media nowadays. If you go to their website or their brochure or whatever, and it's all the old style camo and from the 80s and dull color pictures with a bunch of mallards, I would probably question that. If you're going to a social media or their website or social media, and it's them and all the guides hunting or them and their buddies hunt, well, I can promise you, if me and Jared and Cole and the other guys all went and got in the blind every day, it would be nothing but picking our ducks in a smoke show. But we're taking people who have never hunted before. We're putting their shotguns together, or they're renting shotguns from us. We're pulling the tags off their clothes, and we're doing taking them to the sporting clays range and teaching them the safety and how to hit a clay, left to right or right to left, or introducing them into the outdoors or introducing them to the sport of wing shooting. So then, I mean, it's what we would consider, and this was a hard thing I had to really instill into the guide. It's not always about what you kill, and it's so a lot of guys think if you don't limit out, then you had a bad hunt, because that's what we do. I mean, I've had people come from North and South Carolina, and they want to shoot one canvasback and then go back home. Like, we can kill 5 more ducks. They're like, man, I've been wanting to kill one of these, for years, and this is all I came for. But so it's that person's experience that you got to listen. That's why God gave you 2 of these and 1 of these. So you got to listen to what the client wants. And we had a client one time that he went with one of my guys, one of my top guys, and he came back with a bad review. I was like, there's no way. So I was like, well, I'll send Jared with him. The next year he comes back, I sent Jared with him, and like Jared, he's gonna make whatever happen. And I got a bad review back on Jared. I was like, there's no possible way. So for next year, I'm taking him. And the guy was coming back every year. And so I take him, and look, the first thing it was horrible conditions. And I said, look, where you going? So I'm fixing to make a loop around the farm, do a little scout, and see if I can find 40 ducks for us to try to kill tomorrow, because there's none out here. And so we get on the Ranger, and we're riding around, and there's probably 400 or 500 ducks in this field, trading back and forth in 2 little areas. So you pick where you want to hunt, because it's your trip, whatever you want to do. If he saw the ducks, we go up in there. And all he'd been wanting to do is kill a pintail. Well, it started off, I go in there, we just built this levee, and I go to park the buggy, and the water was over the top of it, and I drive it off the side of the levee. So there was this big Ranger about 80 yards from the blind. It's not going well. Get back in the blind, and sure enough, it was slow. And we talked and this, that, and other. And his one pintail came. It was a pintail and two gadwalls coming in. I was like, stay down. Here they come. And that old gadwall the pintail was just sitting there, fluttering. Well, he jumps up. What do you do? He's shooting over and under. Boom, boom. Shoots at both the pintails, misses both of them. That old gadwall just sitting there in your face. Click, 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 click. So he had the opportunity to kill his kill his pintail. But we got back, and I said, there's no way I'm going to get a good review off of this. I parked the Ranger. We got stuck, and he didn't get to kill his duck. He sent back. That was the best hunt he had been on here. Because he'd flown in so many times and gone to the blind, and back to the lodge, and that was it. He'd never gone on a tour like that to see what all the stuff that we do while they're at the lodge doing their afternoon activity or whatever. And he said that, and he's been back ever since. But we're all thinking, he's got to kill more ducks. He's got to kill more ducks.
You talk
about that at all.
Each morning's a new day. You could have you're filtering clients in and out. This day you might have an experienced group of guys that have been hunting. This might be the 40th state they've hunted. Or like you just alluded to, this might be their first hunt of all time. You're putting their Benelli together, getting their black cloud loaded for them. The guides every morning, and I've been there, I've experienced it, is that there's a safety meeting. There's protocol. They're going to be told what's going to happen in the blind. This isn't like a drill sergeant coming down on them, but it's, hey guys, we're going to clear our muzzles. We're going to make sure that when the dogs are out, all actions are open. I want to make sure that you don't pull up and click the safety off until you hear me say get him or whatever the call shot's going to be. What are some of the things that your guides center in on every morning to make sure every client understands what they're getting into before they actually get to the blind?
Ed will talk about it the night before at dinner and kind of give them a rundown. Then we have now, because we've been doing it long enough, we have a little rolling feed up on the main floor of the lodge. It kind of just shows, what to expect. And then that morning, of course, everybody's got questions, but the biggest safety meeting really never happens until you get in the blind, and that guide's with that group. And they, kind of, by the time you're sitting around there eating their omelet and loading the stuff up, you can kind of see, even from, somebody's personal mobility. They might be a little slower, or need any help with his bag. There's more things. So they're always paying attention. It's not just a time to sit there and shoot the breeze and wait till shooting time. So once they get in the blind, they put the people in. If there's something adjustments they need to make on who sits where, they do that then. But then you go through the all guns on when they're down or in the blind, they're on safety. When you put it up to your shoulder, identify your target. They call the shot, take it off safety. Back down in the blind, don't shoot while the dog's out, and dang sure don't shoot while the guide's out. So that's the when it comes
to respect and etiquette, for your fellow duck hunters. How important is promptness? I've been in county break where a guy's alarm might not have went off. He's coming down and he's nowhere near ready to go, but the sun's coming up. It's time to get to the blind and get prepared. Whether it's getting the mojos turned on, whatever it is, there's work to do once we get out to the blind. How important is it to be on time when you're at a lodge or a guide service and making sure that you make the bell and you're ready to go and the guide's ready to go?
Well, you got to think about the other people that. If you're going by yourself, that's one thing. But if you're going with somebody else, that's a lot bigger thing. Because you're making somebody else's. Your poor planning is making somebody else's a problem. So, growing up with my buddies, I always had a rule: if you're late, you're left. And you can ask a lot of my buddies; they got left at the gas station or wherever we were supposed to meet because I'm getting up and I'm going after them. But here, there's some people that come down and they'll make the hunt the first morning, and the second morning we're like, you know what, I'm going to sleep in and get a massage. It's just different strokes for different folks. But as far as if somebody's inviting you on a hunt, then the last thing you want to do is be late or make it more difficult to them. If somebody's paying for your hunt, you don't want to do that. So if you're going by yourself, that's up to you. You can miss that first flight of wood ducks or that first low speck that's coming in there right at daylight.
There's a lot of instruction that goes on, and there's a lot of education that can go on with the guide service and outfitter. And I've heard a lot of clients asking questions throughout the entire hunt. Why do you shoot 3-inch black cloud and number 2s? Why aren't you shooting number 3s? Hey, Drew, I saw that you had this in your blind bag. you could become a teacher, a mentor, an instructor for what we would call a DIY or a do-it-yourself hunter, because a lot of these guys and girls are going to leave honey break and go back with, man, I got a learning experience. I got a college education in 3 days. I'm ready to go apply what I just learned. What are some of the things that you would tell the DIY hunter now that's going to go off on his or herself and be like, I got a blind bag. We know we're gear nuts. We're going to have our calls. We're going to have other things in this blind bag, our ammo, our calls, whatever it is. What are some things that we don't think about that you would tell the DIY hunter to make sure you have this in your blind bag that might not be one of the overall, quote unquote, again, essentials?
I mean, you've seen my bag. We towed everything but the kitchen sink. Chad, you got me on that one. I mean, I guess with the cost of everything, what I tell more young people nowadays is, find you a buddy with, he'll have the boat and you'll have the 4-wheeler. Another guy will have the decoys. Another guy will have the dogs. So it's not so much expense on one person. Get you a good group of buddies, and everybody kind of pitches in and does their own part. Just no different than the quarterback, the tackle, and the receivers and the running.
When you're thinking about that, talk
together.
To me real quick. You mentioned dogs again. I want to talk about the blind bag dogs, the hunter, and it's something that I think about and that I don't do a very good job of. How important, in your opinion, and do you carry a first aid kit for hunters, clients?
We've got first aid kits in every Ranger and in every boat.
So this is important when you're a DIY hunter to be thinking about whether it's snacks for your dog, protein snacks or something for your dog to make sure his or her energy level stays up, hydration methods for the dog during a hunt, other things in your blind bag like Band-Aids or chapstick because you're calling so much, and or bug spray if you're hunting teal and there's a bunch of mosquitoes around. There's a long list that when I open Drew Keith's blind bag, and I've done it before, and we have done podcasts that focus mainly on Drew Keith's blind bag, you do take everything but the kitchen sink.
Yeah, it's a little different. I mean, it's hard for me to tell you what's essential, because what's essential to me might not be to the 90%.
Yeah, and I think the other big thing that I've learned at Honey Break is you could go into the buckbrush with a half a dozen decoys, 4 hen mallards, a coot, and a drake mallard, and mop up the mallard ducks. Or you could go out into one of the big blinds and have 600-700 decoys, up to 1,200 decoys out. Was talking about the DIY hunter leaving with some knowledge. He goes into your blind. That can be pretty intimidating. Oh my gosh, I'm never going to have this many decoys. What would you tell me, Drew? What do I start with? When I leave Honey Break, can I go get a dozen or a couple dozen floater mallard decoys, maybe a sprig for some color in it? What do you tell people when it comes to the decoy, the setting up, what to look for, the wind direction, the shadows, jerk strings, movement on the water? What are some of the things that you're going to teach people as you take them through a daily hunt at Honey Break?
I mean, being able to make adjustments. It's just no different than turkey calling or duck calling. Knowing when to call is a whole lot better than knowing how to call. Motion in the decoys. I mean, we've killed a lot of ducks with just sitting by a tree and kicking, through the years. I mean, it all just depends. I guess the first thing is location. If you can't be on the spot, you want to be as close to it as you can. You can get away with a whole lot more or a whole lot less doing that. You definitely want to have some kind of motion, like like spinning wing decoys. That's some days they work, some days you need to turn them off. So a remote control on that saves you back and forth trips out of the blind. A jerk string, having something that's compact. Our permanent blinds have them built in there to it, but having there's several different models that are out there now that have a little anchor system, and you fold it up and put it in your backpack.
The other thing I want to make sure that people have a good understanding on is when we start talking duck. I don't know if there's a more extensive. Oh, you're all right. Matt will be able to edit. I don't know if there's a more extensive lanyard in all of duck hunting than Drew Keith's lanyard. And when I say that, I mean, and here's why. Here's why is because you don't know when you're going to need a drake whistle or a pintail whistle or a widgeon whistle or a teal whistle or a mallard call or a gadwall call or a teal call. You got all of this because you're ready, you're prepared. But again, Drew, thinking about that instructional process for the the DIY guy or girl going out on their own, what are some of the basics you would say to have on their lanyard? And then what are just a couple of the basic sounds you want to master? Because when I hear you call, I'm like, man, Drew's mixing in that widgeon whistle with some mallard, quacks, and Jared's over here doing this, and the ducks are eating it up. But what would you tell people? Have this on your lanyard, and here's a couple basic sounds I want you to concentrate on.
Well, you definitely have to have a mallard call. And it means like if you could just do the basic cadence, pan, 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 just a regular old 5-note, and then have a little feed and chuckle, and then I would do a drake whistle, and you can do a pintail, you can do a teal, and you can do the widgeon or the mallard drake whistle. But I would tell anybody, and I tell a lot of people this all the time, go somewhere and listen to ducks on the water. Go to a spot that's a roost, or go to a wildlife preserve or a resting area, and sit there at dark and listen to the birds come in and try to mimic those sounds. That just answers the question that you asked me. Why do you have all those? Why are y'all doing all that? Because if we've got pintail, canvasback, mallard, widgeon, gadwall decoys out there, well, the ducks, they're looking for those noises. And if you're sitting there with all that big spread and making one noise over and over and over again in the same repetition, of course we do give ducks the more credit than they're probably worth. I spent most of my life trying to outsmart something with a brain about the size of my thumbnail, but I think that it's just more realistic. No different than having emotion in your decoy.
Listening to the real thing, and if there are
make it more realistic
sprig decoys in your spread, then be able to twirl your tongue and get a little bit of a sprig whistle going, and be able to do the widgeon. Yeah. All the stuff that teal does. It's more realistic. Yeah, that sounds perfect. And one thing that I've always been frustrated with you about, and I know we're coming to an end, Drew, and I truly appreciate you being on. It's Federal season. We're both great friends of Federal Premium. We both believe in Black Cloud. But there's one thing that I've always questioned, and let's just clear the air right now. We're always going to be good friends. Why don't you let me call the shot? Is this because you want to have dominance over me, or is there really a talent? And again, talking to DIY girls and guys out there that are going to start waterfowl hunting, how important is calling the shot? And why do you always insist that you have to be the one calling the shot when I'm in the blind with you? Because a lot of times I see it a little different, and I want to do things my way. This is important, right, Drew, of having a blind leader and knowing who's going to call the shot.
That's right. Right. Yeah, too many chiefs and not enough Indians. So when I go to your blind, I'm going to listen to what you say. But I guess coming from being a guide, you basically have to have a servant's heart. So if the ducks are coming in on my end and I shoot the first one that comes in and there's 12 more coming behind it, then nobody else got a shot in the blind unless they shoot not their lane. So that goes back to blind safety. So it's a lot safer if I wait, even if I don't get to shoot, or maybe the guy beside me doesn't get to shoot, but letting them float on past so everybody has a best opportunity to shoot a duck. And like back to taking new people. First time I've hunted with that guy. Well, I don't know how far he can shoot ducks. So I'm going to try to get him in as close as possible every time until I see how they shoot. Now, if he does that and everybody unloads and one's getting out, he reloads and pops one 70 yards out there. Hey, we can pop them when they start swinging the decoys. But that, to me, the calling the shot part is safety. As far as so not shooting over somebody's head, and then too, you want to make a good lethal shot. You don't want to have a bunch of cripples running out there. It's sky blasting, or shooting away out there is very unethical. So you want to make sure you have a good lethal shot, and
Drew, before
dogs can go get it and reload and get ready for the next batch. So it's not just I'm not just calling.
I have to mess with you about it because I think it's the first thing I ask every time I'm in the blind with you. Drew, can I please call? I guess the answer to the question is I need to invite you on a hunt with me.
Right. Yeah.
I know that we're rolling. It wouldn't be fair on this podcast right now, Drew, to ask you what is your go-to for Black Cloud? What do you like? And what have you seen over the last 5 seasons? Is it performing like it performs for us? Because how important is it to get those dead ducks back in the blind and on the strap with everybody's got their own strap, staying to their legal possession limit, their daily bag limit. We don't want a bunch of cripples. We know it's going to happen, but how awesome has Black Cloud been for you and the Honey Break team?
Right. Well, I'm a 3.5 inch BBs kind of guy, and that's just my favorite round. I'm a little bit bigger fella, and we usually shoot last, and we're shooting cripples. And again, I've got my little Rob Roberts trick out done on it, so it's shooting a pretty tight pattern. But I will tell you this: we got a few test rounds for the new TSS 8s and BBs or 7s and BBs, and I shot some of that in teal season. That's pretty. I mean, I might could. I actually even stuck a couple in my bag during duck season. It's like 3.5, then the 3 8s and BBs or 7s and BBs. It's pretty good round. So you have the heavy stuff. And I
love Black Cloud. Drew Keeth, Honey Break Lodge. It's a true destination. Thank you for allowing us to come into your living room today. Thank you for allowing us to camp. We're going to be with you in a couple months. The anticipation's high. I can't wait to get down there. The music, the meals, Miss Shelley, all you and Jared, the entire crew. It's an amazing experience. Thank you for being part of the Federal family, and thank you for being on It's Federal Season podcast. Drew Keith, Honey Break Lodge, my man.
It's a legacy 100 years in the making, where American ingenuity met a trailblazing spirit. Hard work united with patriotism. Technology blended with new ideas. Right here in Anoka, Minnesota. Born in 1922, made in America, proud to be the best. A century of innovation, and we're just getting warmed up. Welcome back to It's Federal Season and our technology segment, Tech Talk.
Welcome back to It's Federal Season. I'm your host, Chad Belding. I also host the Fowl Life Television that airs right now on the Outdoor Channel. Outdoor Channel, the home for everything outdoors, hunting, fishing, culinary, you name it. We're proud to be part of the Outdoor Channel family. Again, I am so excited to be hosting this episode of Federal Premium's It's Federal Season podcast. And this segment is called Tech Talk. And I love this part. I love to get down in the weeds when it comes to the product that is being produced daily at the headquarters in Anoka, Minnesota at Federal Premium. And Adam Mosier, who works with Black Cloud on a daily basis. He's our guest today for the Tech Talk segment. And he's the director of new product development and someone that is very familiar with the Black Cloud product. And a 100-year legacy of Federal ammunition, Federal Premium. Black Cloud hit the market in 2008, and it really changed the way we hunt ducks and geese, in my opinion. We've been shooting it for 11 seasons now. And Adam, talk to me, my man. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being on Tech Talk. Talk to me about Black Cloud, and in your opinion, how it changed the game for waterfowl hunters, ducks and goose alike.
Sure. Well, yeah, great to be here, Chad. Nice talking with you again. So when Black Cloud was introduced, it really revolutionized how wad technology was thought of. First of all, the flight control wad technology was unlike anything else on the market at the time. Conventional wads, opening from the front. This was a flight control wad which flip it 180 degrees and use muzzle pressure to deploy fins to give you that drag stabilization and release that payload more uniformly away from the muzzle. So that was the biggest departure difference that hunters saw when Black Cloud was introduced. You couple that with Federal's reliable primer, clean, efficient burning powders, temp stable, put premium steel and flight stopper steel in combination in that payload, and you really have a load unlike anything else on the market. To top it all off, we seal our crimps, we seal our primers to give that extra reliability to the user to kind of wrap that package all together.
Personally speaking, and I know this is Tech Talk, but take me into your hunt real quick, Adam. you gotta just love the idea of seeing this product designed, going from the drawing board to the manufacturing to being put in a box, and then you taking some shells out of a box, loading it into your shotgun with your fellow federal employees or just some buddies in the duck blind. How fired up do you get to see the performance, knowing what it took to get to that point?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of pride that goes into this, right? Being a user, being a shooter, and a hunter. And I came in, at Federal here in 2011, and Black Cloud was already established. But, over the past few years, we were able to implement the new Flex Wad and work intimately on that design and to see it come to fruition and the improvements that we made in the product and an already outstanding product that had a really strong following. It's rewarding and very satisfying to be able to do something like that.
Adam, Black Cloud is offered with a blend of TSS. What are the benefits for adding Tungsten Super Shot to a load combination like that?
Yeah, so a couple things. Tungsten Super Shot is 18 grams per cc density. So if you're used to shooting steel, that's just below 8. So significant increase in density in the material that's used. What that allows us to do is to use smaller pellets, but not decrease that downrange energy. So the big three things you get when you combine TSS into the Black Cloud load, you're keeping some of that flight stopper steel, 40% flight stopper. You're getting 60% of your pellets of this TSS, which allows us to go, instead of a BB, we're putting a number 7 TSS into that shell, which increases your pellet count drastically. So first you get more pellets on target. You get higher energy on target because of, 1, more pellets, and 2, the higher density pellets have the ability to carry their velocity and downrange energy much further than steel. And the third thing is then extended range, right? So your 40-yard shot, your 40-yard lethality now is out to 50 yards and beyond.
Adam, we're gear nuts, and I do love talking tech like this. Like I said before, I love getting down the weeds, but duck and goose hunters, man, we don't cut corners when it comes to gear. And one of my favorite things to do is, whether it's opening up the Wildfowl magazine, the August gear edition, and seeing all of the brands and what they're going to offer for this new season, the 2022-2023 waterfowl season. Is there anything that we can look forward to with Black Cloud or Federal? Anything new coming out?
Yeah, Chad, we are currently working on some new products, some new concepts. They are in the hopper right now. It's a little too early to release any of that information, so I guess I'll tell you to stay tuned for future development on what we got going on there.
All right. Well, I will sit back. I'll accept that, Adam, just because I thought you would give me a little bit of wiggle room there, being part of the family for over a decade. But here's the deal. Federal did recently launch the Federal Bismuth with Heavy Shot. Can you describe this new offering from Federal?
Yeah, sure. So there's a number of offerings there in bismuth, featuring Heavy Bismuth, which, our sister company there out in Oregon. So these loads are really tailored towards the upland and the waterfowl market to kind of kill two birds with one stone there. So these loads are in 3s, 4s, and 5s in bismuth shot. They feature the Flight Control Flex Wad that gives you that added downrange lethality and pattern density, all those good things that you get with that wad. But with the benefits of bismuth, you get a higher density than steel. It's more malleable, like traditionally like lead is. So it's safe in older guns. If guys don't want to shoot steel in some older firearms, this would fit that bill. And it's also a lead-free offering. So obviously good for the waterfowl guy.
And when you start talking about things that are good for the waterfowl guy, the waterfowl girl, the waterfowl hunter all around, we all have different preferences. We all start talking about gauges and shot size and payload. And do we shoot a 3.5 to a 3-inch to a 2 3/4? I just had a conversation with our mutual buddy Drew Keith down at Honey Break in Louisiana about his favorite loads. Sometimes you're in the blind and you see some teal. Then there might be a mallard. Then all of a sudden you hear the honk of a Canada goose and you look up and here comes a flock of 8 honkers dialing it in with their wings cupped and their feet down. What are some guidelines that you would tell the everyday hunter, the DIY hunter, him or her to follow when it comes to picking out their shot size or their different boxes of Black Cloud?
Sure. Man, Chad, probably better than anybody. When it comes down to picking shot size, if you're going out and just targeting teal, you'd tend towards the smaller end of the shot spectrum. A number 4 steel would probably be what a teal hunter would be looking at. If you're going out and intentionally targeting geese or large ducks, BBs, 1s, 2s, that sort of shot size. Now, if you're going out with a mixed bag in mind, pick somewhere in the middle. 3s, 2s, kind of cover all spectrums of that, I guess. It's hard to give one specific shot size or one direction when kind of open-ended, anything can happen. But as far as going, gauges and shell lengths and all that sort of stuff, it does somewhat come down to preference and experience there, for sure.
And one thing my buddy Adam and myself would tell anybody listening to today's episode of It's Federal Season is pattern your gun. Put it on paper, your choke tube, your shooting system. What are you getting out of the 2-shot, the 3-shot, the 3.5, the 3-inch black cloud, the 4s, the BBs? What are your expectations? Well, when you go out in the blind, that's probably not the right time to test it. Preseason gives us ample opportunity, right, Adam, to go out and get on a patterning board or just some paper and see what that load is doing with your choke tube at different distances. Does that sound fair to say?
Absolutely, yeah. There is a lot of nuances that go into how each shotgun and choke combination responds slightly differently. So it is absolutely critical that you go out and test your product that you intend to use. You know where your gun's point of impact and point of aim are, so you can be the most effective shot that you can be.
That's tech talk. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable information, in my opinion, for new and experienced everyday duck and goose hunters, waterfowl hunters. I'm so excited, Adam, for this season. I'm so honored to be part of the Black Cloud Federal Premium family. I appreciate you being here, buddy. Thank you so much, Adam.
Yeah, it's always great talking to you, Chad.
Up next on It's Federal Season podcast, we're going to go through some news, some notes, and we're going to get ready for this upcoming waterfowl season. I'm Chad Belding. We'll be right back.
Good boy.
It's a season with no beginning or end, with bonds so strong, not weather or age or thousands of miles keep us from it. Our love for it is as varied as those who are addicted to its pursuit. A connection with the outdoors, with family, and your best friend. We plan with anticipation. We prepare and wait in silence. With tired legs, cold hands, we push on, all in hopes of hearing a call that shatters the calm, to see the approach of thundering skies and experience the instantaneous rush. For whatever your reason, this is our season.
Welcome back to It's Federal Season and the News and Notes segment.
Welcome back to It's Federal Season podcast. I'm Chad Belding. I'm also the host of the Fowl Life Television, airing right now, Season 14 over on the Outdoor Channel. Thank you all so much for tuning into the Fowl Life. I also have a couple of my own podcasts, the Fowl Life podcast and This Life Ain't For Everybody. A lot of diversity in guests and topics. You can find both of those offerings on any of your podcast platforms. Thank you all so much for downloading the subscriptions. And please don't forget to check out the merchandise page at federalpremium.com. The latest in gear and apparel is offered there. And I'm telling you, I saw a lot of this when I was up at the Legacy event, the 100th year anniversary celebration at Federal in Minnesota. And I loved it. The designs, it's trendy. There's ducks, there's pheasants, there's upland. There's everything that you can expect from an iconic brand like Federal Premium. So check out the merchandise page at federalpremium.com and get loaded up in merch and gear for this upcoming hunting season. The next It's Federal Season podcast will feature a captivating discussion with Nathan Edmondson, president and co-founder of Eco Defense, an organization that is working with wildlife defenders to stop the illegal acts before they occur. Look for this episode when it goes live in mid-October. If you like what you hear on this podcast, please go to the ratings and reviews and give us your honest feedback. Thank you all for listening to another episode of It's Federal Season podcast.